You don't come to Las Vegas and talk to a man like Mo Green like that!
Fredo, I love you, but don't ever take sides with anyone against the family again.
So, my name is Paul. I'm with Project Exodus Corp. This is Project Exodus Corp podcast. This is my buddy Andrew. This is Anthony. And my good friend Joel. Before we get started, I wanted to take a minute to let you all know that our podcast is brought to you by you can go to our website and you can shop through all of our wonderful products. We now have hoodies, hats, different tees, our new prints. So please go check it out. All the money that we raise from this from these shirts and all of this merchandise we use to help people in early recovery. So if you get a chance, go check it out. This is our 13th step tee dedicated to our friend JT, the Predator. Yeah, 13th step recovery Predator. All right, so that's what I have for that. And back to the podcast. So what's going on, fellas? How are you this week? Anything? Mr. Joel, who you got tomorrow night? Mike Tyson or Jake Paul?
I mean, Paul's probably gonna win. I mean, Mike Tyson's almost 60. I mean,
What about you, Ant?
I got Tyson all the way.
Tyson?
I want Tyson to just pound his face in, but I mean, he's
Do any of you guys think it's a gimmick? Like they're
you think Tyson would go for it?
yeah.
absolutely. He's an entertainer. I mean, do I think he would? He wants to win, but I don't think he would. He would allow his reputation to go out there and just get knocked out.
He got a tattoo on his face, bro, and he he went through that whole. He had like he was on the movie Hangover and did a bunch of cheeseball stuff. So I'd say, yeah. I mean, he went to prison for raping a woman. I think he's cool with losing a boxing match.
I don't necessarily
That's what he's talking
disagree.
about.
I don't necessarily disagree with that theory or that idea.
I was watching some of his highlights the other day. It was like dudes didn't even know what was going on, and they're just on the ground. But
When the ear was on the ground?
yeah,
I know there's
no, he swallowed it. He swallowed.
yeah.
No.
They had a video.
So there's new rules or something for their fight. I never
The gloves are massive.
No hitting in the face.
Yeah, which probably works out in Paul's favor. So it takes less of a
So
less speed. And
Jake Paul and Mike Tyson are truly friends. Like they I mean, they're very vocal about being friendly with one another. And Mike even says, I started Jake Paul, I'm going to end him. You know, like off camera, they were good buddies. But one interesting thing I looked up, and this is going to sound weird, but I looked up their net worths. Because I'm thinking, like, Mike Tyson's got to be worth a buku. His net worth, according to Google, is $10 million. Yeah. Jake Paul's net worth, according to Google, is $80 million. So I'm thinking, well, maybe I mean, $10 million is a lot of money, but does he need? Maybe this is kind of one of those fights where he's trying to make a big payday. It's with Netflix.
Tyson?
Yeah,
for sure. This is all about
He's
money.
probably already getting paid.
Yeah,
just to do the fight.
Yeah, for sure.
He's making some bread.
Well, I would agree.
And think he didn't make a lot of the money from a lot of those fights. Those were who was his manager? Don King.
Yeah.
And then he had to serve prison time and pay all his attorneys for all that. And then he didn't really. I mean,
so we got that. More on fight news. Like I'm a MMA junkie. John Jones is back Saturday night versus Stipe, which is freaking great. Speaking of cocaine addicts, John Jones is right up there with the best of them. So I think one of the last things he did, he got in trouble in Phoenix, like pulled over, coked out, like they heard some gunshots downtown. Like I don't know how he got out of that, but he was like shooting his gun off in downtown Phoenix allegedly.
pop.
So
you gotta fire off your gun, man, when you're geeked up, you know?
Yeah.
Makes
So
sense.
for those that have noticed, we've got an additional guest this week, our good friend Ant.
Sunny.
What's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good.
So cute.
He's not just friend; he's a mentor.
Yep.
Project Access Corp. He's
House
a
leader.
house leader. at Project
House leader.
Access Homes.
So
This is,
yeah, we've
good
known Ant since pretty much like
Salvation Army.
How long you been out of the Sally?
I'm like a year and a couple months now.
Yeah. And when I met Ant, I think he was on his second tour
Yeah.
of the Salvation Army, but it was like a weird stipulation where he had to go back. Like, I guess there was like a jailbreak in between.
Yeah.
But it's kind of weird because, I mean, I don't know the old Anthony, from personal experience. I mean, I know, a lot of the conversation. I know this version.
Right.
So, and a lot of people will tell many of us these things like, oh, I'd never suspect you to be using drugs or going to jail. And I guess I could say the same, unless, I understand how that works. But tell us a little bit about yourself and your story. You don't have to you could be as deep as you want to, and we'll go from there.
So I was born in New York, but then I moved down to Florida kind of early. I pretty much went to every elementary, middle, and high school around here, but I graduated from Booker High. Um, my addiction probably started when I was about like 13. Um, so like middle school through high school, uh, I was pretty much a full-blown addict. Um, I didn't really start getting in trouble probably till I was about like 18, 19. 19, I caught my first DUI and I got a possession charge too. And that's kind of what spiraled me into all of this, like going to the Salvation Army and all that. Before then, I had went to rehab 7 times. Um, then I caught that DUI and
In Sarasota?
in Manatee County, but I was living in Sarasota, so I had to get everything transferred from Manatee to Sarasota, which was a pain because I was having to drive from Sarasota all the way to Manatee County like every other week. It was just
For what, like
pain in the neck.
outpatient rehab?
No,
Probation.
Yeah, I was just curious. We're into treatment.
gosh, yeah, I went to treatment. Shoot, Port St. Lucie, Sebring, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach. I was kind of like all over the state.
Passages Malibu. So they bougie.
I didn't get to go to that one yet.
So I have a
was an addict for
question.
10 years.
I have a question. Do you remember anything from any one of those rehabs that like stuck with you now that you remember from back
I
then?
want to be honest with you. I didn't learn nothing from any of them because from the day that I got there, I was just planning on the day that I got out. And I actually, because a lot of them I was in there when I was a
28
minor.
28-day programs?
They were 28 and a couple month-long programs. Um, I escaped 2 of them because I was a minor, so like it wasn't like when you're an adult you can just go in and check out whenever you want. When you're in there, you're kind of like you're stuck in there.
Mhm.
So I remember one. I was in Fort Myers and I had broken out of that one.
What do you mean broken out of it?
Like
You jumped the fence?
yeah, like me and this kid, we got our lunch and we put it in a bag. And then we like looked at each other. We talked about it for the last couple of days, and we're like,
The
dude.
nod.
So then
This is it.
we freaking hauled ass, and they were chasing us. And then we were all around Fort Myers and or not Fort Myers, Fort Lauderdale. So it was like, and then we got a ride to Miami. Went back from Miami back to Fort Lauderdale. Walked around the strip. Got enough money, saying that we needed money for the bus, and we got somebody to get us a pack of cigs. I mean, it was just a crazy experience.
So you didn't learn anything from that one?
No, I didn't
Okay.
learn anything from anyone except the Salvation Army.
Okay.
Get a couple of comments pretty quick. John says, "Never again, brother. Together we will stay sober." Oh, that's cute. And Angela said, "Tell it all." Polly said, "Congratulations on the 1 year Project X. This, thank you. Sorry I missed your celebration." Thanks, Polly. Polly did a walk similar to the fentanyl walk down or it was actually a 5K. But shout out to Polly down there. So, this brings us to the point. Let's say you get to the Salvation Army. For a lot of people that don't know what that's like, give a quick description of your first initial what it was like when you first walked in. Were you in or were you just
Quick side note. Give us a brief synopsis of your life right up until you went to the Sally. Like the last 2 weeks and then you going
Before I
to
went to the Sally?
Yeah, and then you can answer Paul's question.
yeah, don't
Okay. So I'll give a little rewind. Before I went to the Salvation Army, I was in drug court. And I was just about to get off of drug court. and my probation officer came to my house really early in the morning, and I thought it was somebody else. I answered the door with a beer in my hand. Gotcha. So I ended up having to turn myself into the jail. Did like a month, and then they gave me the option to go to the Salvation Army. So I was like, shoot, anything's better than jail. So I went to the Salvation Army, and right away it was like all this structure.
So mentally, when the probation officer opens the door and you got a beer in your hand, mentally, um, I guess the best way to ask this question is to kind of frame it from the understanding that we have now, right? Like I'm bought into recovery
Yeah,
because at this point, like there's no more faith required because I can see the benefits of it. But I remember, like even when I was in jail before I met Andrew, I was like I wasn't bought in because I was just oblivious to what recovery was, you know. But for you, as you're standing there in your boxers with their holes in it, you know, cockroaches crawling everywhere, you're still reserve in your end. The probation center, like you're four loco, but you're standing there in a very ominous time where you know, like, okay, I got an option to get sober. I mean, how serious were you? Were you about it, or did it take some being in the Sally before you realized, like, oh, I can do this?
it honestly took me the second time of going to the Sally because when that first initial time that I was in there,
This
I
was
was
before drug court.
no, I was still in drug court, violated with the beer in my hand, went to jail, then went to the Sally, right?
Okay.
Then I'm in the Sally and I'm bullshitting the program. Like I'm doing really good at bullshitting. And
Rick.
yeah, then
You hear that?
I yeah, hear that, Rick? No, he knows this.
Steps there.
I
There's
actually
no
got
fooling that guy.
no, and I was just so ready to. I would say whatever I could to make it look good so I can get out faster.
Right.
And just so I can go back to doing what I was doing.
Yeah. Is that what you're like?
That was my end goal, just to get back to doing what I was doing. I
Get
had
off paper. No. Yeah.
none of that. I just wanted to have a good time. But then I got caught with a phone in the Sally because in the Sally you're not allowed to have cell phones. And then I'm going back to jail.
Were you that guy that called the?
No, I wasn't.
okay.
I know. I heard him talk about that on the podcast.
So you get caught with a
What a
cell
rookie.
phone. They DQ you,
Yeah.
and so they send you to jail.
Yeah. So they DQ'd me. I had less than 24 hours outside the Sally. So pretty much just like went home, seen everybody, and the next morning I turned myself into the jail. I went to court actually, and they took me from court to the jail.
And how long were you in jail till you went back to the Sally?
A month. And I didn't know that I was going to be going back to the Sally because I had a hold on me because my original charges were from Manatee. So I had a hold on me from Manatee County. And I kept calling Kim and Rick almost every day. And they were like at the point where like, dude, we don't know if we can help you with this or not. And I remember I had made it up to the recovery pod 2 weeks before I got out. And I was seeing all the people that were bringing meetings into the Salvation Army, and it almost felt like home. Like I'm like I know these people, and I remember one day I was stressing, calling my lawyer, calling Kim, calling Rick, and I'd actually got down on my knees and I prayed, and I'm like, God, I'm giving all of this to you, and the very next day, instead of jumping on the phone right away, I kind of just chilled, went to my first meeting, and then after that first meeting, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try to call like my mom or somebody, and then it said like your PIN number's invalid, and I'm like, what the hell? Go to the snack
Getting
machine.
out. He's getting
PIN
out.
numbers. I got zero. I know I had like $50 on there, and it said zero. It was all zeroed out. And then 2 minutes later, they're like, Albrecht, roll it up.
Oh, those
So
are
let
the
me
best words to hear in jail.
let me ask you
Roll it
this.
up.
You said something really interesting. Like you said, you prayed, and the Bible talks about worry not what tomorrow may bring.
Mm-hmm.
Like God's in control; He'll take care of you. And it seems like in my life, when I first heard that verse, it was always in the back of my mind not to worry about stuff. Like I can recall getting was trying to get into a house, had very little money, and I just told the guy, and I would worry and stress, and then finally one day I remembered that verse, and I was like, I'm not gonna worry about it anymore. And like 10 minutes later, the guy calls me. He's like, I'll take care of it. And like same thing with you. Like you were worried and stressed. You're taking Mr. Kim and Mr. Rick for a ride, running them ragged, and then the next thing you know, you give it up to God, and He, it all comes together and works out for you. So you get back to the Sally,
Yeah.
and I believe this is where
Who
I had.
picked you up from jail?
Who
Did
picked
you-
me up?
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Ryan again.
from the Sally?
Yeah.
So
How happy were you to see him?
Oh, I gave him a hug. I lifted him off his feet, and he was like, "You ready, um, to start your new life again, my friend?" He always calls you his friend, and it's like the most like welcoming thing ever.
yeah, it's a little bit of grace and love.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get to this alley, and for us, I don't know how long you'd been in there before I started taking that meeting, the original meeting, but
I was in there a little bit my first time around. I seen you coming around with Alan,
yeah.
I think.
So at this point, like we're doing pretty much, some decent meetings. They're different, but that's when I first met you.
Yep.
I just remember I donated a whole bunch of shoes
Yeah.
to this alley. Like I had like all these shoes I'd accumulated, way too many. I remember Kelly like kind of getting on to me, like, you got too many shoes in a halfway house. What are you doing? So I think me and Shelby had moved in together at this point, and Shelby was like, "You got too many shoes," and I just boxed up a whole bunch of clothes and
I
shoes.
think I remember you giving some shoes away there too.
Yeah,
We
like
gave out like boxes of clothes and shoes.
yeah, and I just remember I've always felt like Anthony had some like clean shoes. And did you get a pair and like clean them up or something?
I don't think so because your freaking feet are way too big.
I thought he, yeah,
But,
and they stink. No, but like I remember, like for me, that moment of just donating some clothes, like that was a different moment for me in recovery because I really got to experience gratitude on a different level. Like to me, these were old clothes and stuff I didn't use, but to the people in the Sally, it was like
these clean ass clothes.
yeah, like
You had everybody in the Sally all decked out. Like it was pretty cool.
yeah. So you get to the Sally at this moment, since that prayer in jail. I guess going into the Sally, you had a completely different perspective of what recovery would look like for you, or you were just open and willing at that point.
I think I was more open and willing at that point. I just kind of sat back and thought, and I'm like, my life is like really unmanageable, and I was just tired, and I'm like, I don't want to keep putting my family through this. I don't want to keep putting myself through this. Every year I'd take a vacation, but it wasn't a good one. I was like, I'm either going to jail or a rehab every year, like once a year. Like just didn't know when.
The old junkie vacay.
Yeah.
So you're in there. What's the most valuable thing other than Angela that you got from the Salvation Army?
Damn, put me on the spot.
You see that, Angela?
You see that? We got your back over here.
Probably like life skills. Like I'm able to handle situations a lot better.
Yeah, a little bit of lint.
Oh,
It's okay. I got you.
I'm able to like handle situations a lot better than I used to. Because like life throws you a lot of curveballs, and I think that through some of the stuff through the CRP program, CRP,
CRP?
y'all know about that.
No, I don't. I mean,
I do, but I was in Viper, and we didn't go VIP.
Oh, they do.
No, well, I know they do now, but they didn't back then. Because
Did they go CRP back then?
I don't know.
It seems
Yeah, they did that. They did that. We used to come up with songs too. Like back then, like it was like
back then, hoes didn't want me.
no.
Oh.
We fell in love in a homeless place. We fell in love in a home. People hooking up at the Sally.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of fell in love in a homeless place, so you met this girl, and I hope that the people that watch this really understand. Like, I can really relate to what your relationship is like because it's like Angela, is scheduled to be on our podcast next week, and you both are extremely involved in Project Exodus and have been since the word go. But I mean, there's a bond there that you're not going to get with anybody else on this planet.
Oh, definitely.
And I'll let you talk about that because I mean, obviously, that's a big part of your recovery journey.
Yeah. So yeah, we met in the Sally, but we never like talked like that in the Sally. Like not at all. Like it was just
no notes.
no notes, no nothing. I can genuinely say that.
Yeah, but
Did you
did
guys-
you think about her like that?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, definitely. I would like hold the door for like to let all the girls in. And be like,
Just
"What's up?"
let her in.
Did that
Little
work?
head nod. And
That
then
worked on you, Angela?
I guess so.
So
Yeah. It was,
And I play like music, and they let me have like the audio keys and stuff, so I'll be able to use YouTube and like put music on and stuff.
Just for her?
I blasted
Wow.
she'd pop her head. Oh, I like that song.
I remember coming in there and Anthony was like the guy that knew how everything worked. I mean, been in there for like 8 months. He like broke a record. And when we had movie night, which was the last Friday of every month, I'd have to go to the bubble. Well, before I didn't have to do all that. Like Anthony went to the front, got the key, came in there, unlocked it, turned the audio stuff on. And then when he left, Angela was there. She was the one that did it. So he was kind of the guy. You know what I mean? Like he'd been around. Was you ever like dorm captain?
No, they never made me dorm captain.
Good
I was captain in my room. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, you commence from the Sally, and what's the next stage? Like what happened once you commence from there?
Straight from the Sally, I went to a New Life, which is now Project Exodus Homes,
There you go. Plug it, son.
and so when I got out, I had the bike from the Sally, and I had the clothes that I had, and I had nothing. I didn't have a driver's license, didn't have a job. Uh, I really didn't have a lot of stuff, but I had a lot of people that believed in me, and I think that's what gave me like the motivation to like keep trucking. So, I did a lot of side work just to be able to pay rent, and like I was eating ramen a lot.
Damn.
Um,
He's getting them soups.
Monosodium glutamate.
I was just, just making my money to pay rent, get a little food, and buy my vapes. And then the side jobs ended up not working out, and I'm like, you know what, I need to get like a legit job. No AC company wanted to touch me because I didn't have my driver's license and I was still on probation. I ended up getting a job at Buffalo Wild Wings. They had just opened the to-go one on 41,
Right.
and I hated that job, but I knew this is where I'm at right now, and I gotta make it the best. I worked my ass off there. Uh,
Some cute outfits there too, right? Remember the girls' outfits? Oh, it's
no, that's to go. They don't.
That's Wing House. I just saw him in
Please
the wing
forgive
shot. I
Lord.
just saw him in the wing shot.
Sorry, Ange.
I want to say this, like, because I mean, I'm fairly new to recovery. Like, I'm only been doing this for a couple of years myself. But what I would say is, it's been really good for my recovery to watch Anthony and other people like you, like Brandon came out of there, Angela, James, Aaron, like that whole class of people, Justy, Doug, so
Greg was
but-
Greg in there or no?
Greg Busker
Busker?
was, I don't think so.
No.
He's years ago.
But what I will say is I'm a data perspective person. Like I like to look at a group of people that come out of the Sally just to see their success rate. And I had a photo I had posted on that had that, like, a lot of people from that group, and they're still going strong. And so my question to you is this: how has Project Exodus, like the meeting, the group, I'm curious to know what that transition was like, knowing that you had kind of established this friend group of, like-minded people, fairly younger, very diverse, but with like an opportunity to stay plugged in outside of the traditional 12 steps. Like, what was that like?
So for me, like I've been in the room since I've been about 13. So I've been in the rooms where they tell you like, sit down, shut up, and just listen. And um, I think this is like it's so cool to be part of because it's like I don't even know how to explain it. It's like breaking the mold of recovery that like recovery doesn't have to be not like boring, but there's more to it than just going to meetings and doing the book work, like the fellowship, and just like the different aspect of going to your normal NA or AA meeting. Um, it's really cool, and just to be a part of something that's bigger than I am.
Yeah, that's really cool to, to think about it from that perspective, because it's like, I don't know. I don't really get too emotional about it, but it makes me realize that I have no idea what I'm doing on a daily basis when it comes to Project Exodus and stuff. Like, I have good intentions,
Right.
but like when I can see other people getting something from just trying to, be friendly and make people feel included. Because I think when I was living in a halfway house, I realized how detrimental, like, and how deadly it was for people that isolate. Like that, you see that a lot. Like, you're a house manager now, and like you see guys come in and they just, they corner themselves off.
Yeah, just go to their room. Shut off.
Well, Project Exodus, like, that's not an option. It's like, hey, we're going to this thing on Saturday, and we're gonna have food on this day, and there's a beach party that day, and it's and none of that. It's like there's opportunity to get involved from a service perspective, like right out the gate.
Right.
And what's that saying in AA? It's like, I found God in the bottom of a coffee pot or something like that. And they're talking about the service aspect of going in and making coffee and doing a service commitment. And I'm sure all three of us have had four of us have had that kind of service commitment at some point. But it's like, I when you say breaking the mold, I can't agree more that how important it is to understand that recovery is evolving in a society nowadays where alcoholism is kind of like your way to come down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, to lighten the pain of the other hard drugs and addictions. And that's something I wanted to ask all three of you tonight. I was sitting here at the house the other day, and I was like, man, I feel like I'm still addicted to stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I know I have an addictive personality. Like, I have a problem with I can't put drugs and alcohol in my body. But there's other things that I have to understand that I'm addicted to, whether it's like the vapes or, toxicity and other things like relationships or food or whatever that is. But I was going to ask you guys, like, what are some things that you feel like that have addictive properties that are not necessarily drugs and alcohol in your own personal life? What do you think, Joel?
Are you gonna put me on the spot like that?
Which one is it on? Is it on his?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Want it on you?
No,
While he
I just
talks?
want to know which one's which, so I can.
Which one's which?
It's whenever that person's talking, I usually try to the one of them. So Andrew's asking which camera is which, and for context, I don't want people to. John said he's addicted to money. No, John, let me talk to you real quick. John,
Yeah.
you're addicted to meaningless pieces of furniture. Like, why is there a massage
Yeah,
chair?
he's addicted to comfort from hoarding. So, like, right off the bat, man. So
We love you, John, but just had to throw that out there.
I didn't believe you when you said it until I saw it the other night. Like, legit. But you don't have to put money in it. It's just it's like a massage chair.
Yeah, no,
You see it at the mall,
exactly
in the living room at the halfway house.
without the change,
Who
Yeah.
gave that to them?
I don't know, but
junkie stunting out there.
John saying it was a gift.
Man.
And I use the same. I use the same. I heard the same thing when I walked in. What's that other guy's name? Ryan.
Yeah.
So I go in and Ryan's in this chair, and like
Little J.
and
Little
I'm like,
John.
what is that? Like, where does this come from? He's like, it was a gift.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, you live in a halfway house. If I gifted you a Shetland pony, are you just gonna
Yeah,
put it
he's
in the
gonna be-
backyard?
yeah, he's
Find
gonna
a
be
place
writing
to
it.
put
Yeah,
it
we'll
at our house.
we'll find somewhere to put it. But yeah, so Joel, what are some things that you've noticed, even though you're sober and you're living a better lifestyle, that cause maybe you think of as an addiction, something that you could be treating with the things you've learned from the 12-step process or just the unity aspect of it as well?
I don't know if it's a addiction. I think it would be like the opposite of a certain mindset. So like that fear that I'm always not enough. If I'm trying to counter that with validation or attention in certain ways. I just went over this. I went to Restore, took a bunch of guys to the Restore program Monday night. And one of the guys, I'm not going to put him on blast or whatever, but he was fighting with his girlfriend. He had a secret phone, that his girlfriend found out. And she met us at Restore. And anyway, the phone was shattered in a bunch of pieces or whatever, when we came out of the meeting. And so I asked him, like, what's going on with that, because he loves this girl. And so he has a second phone. He's not physically cheating on her, but he's emotionally cheating on her. He wants the attention and validation from the women. So he's chatting up a bunch of women on a secondary phone. And that's all comes from a place of insecurities. You know what I mean? So
I don't know why you just switched to me.
Oh,
yeah.
I was just getting your reaction.
I have one phone, and
Reminds me of Breaking Bad when Walt had that extra phone.
No, that stuff's like that's terrible.
So I wouldn't, I mean, so he's got an internal, so he's jeopardizing his relationships. It's probably expensive to keep buying second phones that are breaking. What I mean? It's
It's couples
embarrassing.
counseling.
It's embarrassing to all his homeboys, like,
PXE, get him a phone. Do we get
so,
that phone?
and he's not
Did we buy
even,
that phone?
no,
Oh.
and he's not even physically cheating on her. He's doing it. He's emotionally cheating on her. You know what I mean? So, and this has been his, and he loves her. So it's not like just some.
So the addiction is the desire for affection or attention.
Yeah,
I think it's
I mean,
just
but
low
all-
self-esteem.
But I don't
Right?
know if it's low because it seems to be a kind of a habitual
Ego?
habit
Yeah.
through kind of most people with addiction personality or whatever. You know what I mean? So addiction in itself is something I'm trying to achieve comfort. So if I'm
Right.
regulating, if I'm trying to cure boredom or fear or whatever.
Or suppress some type of
or take the edge off something. I mean, I'm seeking comfort through a repetitive.
Because I mean, even when I was using, there was always like a constant sense of like I was suppressing the guilt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like whether,
Or take the edge off of it, or at least something.
yeah, like I mean, I think it's a very logical thing to consider. It's like we obviously have issues with in a mental health side. I don't want to say we're all crazy, but like I feel like we're as a people, addicts are very high achievers. So any sense of failure can trigger those emotions to want to go and suppress that feeling of you haven't accomplished enough or you've failed.
Or not even the feeling of failure that like I know a huge part of my recovery is that drive for more. Like I have to be someone that's constantly chasing something or doing something, whether it's healthy or not on certain levels. I'm sure it's not, but like I have to go full out and try to accomplish my goals and face discomfort. Otherwise, immediate boredom sets in, and that
Right.
immediate, you know what I mean? And then I'm in a bad place
Right.
because I know then I'm succumbing to fear. Like I always tell people, like boredom is really this mask for fear. There's a million things I'd rather be doing. So if I'm feeling boredom, that's because I'm scared to chase something.
Right.
Whether it's a new career, a new business idea, something's got me sitting around bored because there's that roadblock of fear in my way and all the other avenues.
In that level of comfort too, because like you've gotten to a point where you can it's stable enough that why would you journey down some risky avenue when you've made it to a point where you're a little bit comfortable? So the fear of being uncomfortable trying to do something new,
Right.
when there's also a risk of failure, can kind of keep you stagnant in a bad place.
And in comfort, to be honest, even though comfort's my desirable goal, it's probably what gets in my way in
Right.
life. You know what I mean? To where I want to go. That saying, like every dream I ever have is just right on the opposite side of fear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
What about you, Andrew? Anything that even after you being sober, are there things in your life that you feel like maybe hold you back from a level of like you just wish you could cut ties with, maybe something that you do out of habit?
Well, is he fucking giggling right there?
I mean,
So,
that's Joel.
For me, something that I've kind of been learning is that I'm not great at setting boundaries, and I have a habit of wanting to people please. Like I want to do things that make people feel good, even at the expense of me not feeling good.
Right.
So I've allowed it to. It can become obsessive, but it takes away that people pleasing takes away time from like things that are higher priority than doing this for this person or going here to do that for them. When it's like sometimes I just probably need to just say no, or that I can't, but there's a part of me that just wants to like be helpful
Yeah.
and useful, because for so long I would just take what I, I was just a taker. And so I've been trying to like balance that back out. I feel like the last few weeks, I've gotten a lot better at that and recognizing it. So yeah, people pleasing.
Yeah, that was when I did my step work and I got to like my character defects. People pleasing was like one of the most, that and lying was like the ones things that like would repeat themselves over and over again, because I was just afraid to let people down. You know what I mean? I was afraid to tell someone no, or I just always, it was almost like automatic to say, yeah, I'll do it, and the truth was, it was like, it was not the thing for me to do because I was going to do more damage trying to achieve something or help someone than, if they would have asked the right person. And a lot of times we enable people when we help them prematurely, I guess. We get a lot of phone calls for people that want us to help pay their, tuition or rent, if you will, into a place. And we actually had a guy call today that needed help getting into a place. And I just have a very particular way that I handle those situations because I want the director of the program that they're asking for help to get into to be the ones that call me. So like if someone's calling me from the street saying I need help with rent, that's great. But you got to go through that intake process, right? Like call me after they've done the intake and you pass the drug test and they've approved you to get in. I'm not going to go jump through hoops and then you not show up and do what you're supposed to do. And that's exactly what happened today. There was this guy that needed a bed, and I kept getting a phone call. Hey, they're going to let him in. They're going to let him in, and of course, they get there with him, and he's drunk. So I've had to learn how to say, "Hey, hold on, just wait." And a lot of times that ends up me just not answering the phone, because I just know where we are in that process.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of our biggest. I would say probably one of our biggest challenges is at what point, especially being a nonprofit now with the homes, like at what point are we enabling and not helping? You know what I mean?
Right.
We're continuing to help them, go deeper into their, alcoholism and drug addiction. And that's just hard to find. I always probably end up going on the enabling side. You know what I mean? Just because there's no.
Yeah, I mean, some people
It's more the comfort of me wanting to help them, and I'll just go into that enabling zone because there's no other. It's more of a personal issue I got to go into.
Yeah. What do you got? What do you think? Is there anything in your life that that's not necessarily drug, alcohol related that like you would look at and say, man, this is kind of like my addiction. Like I've got to get better at this.
So with me, it's like anything that I'm into, I get like really, I always want more of it. Like I go to Home Depot for like one tool and I walk out with like five. And I'm like, what the fuck? Or like when I bought my am I
But
not
you
allowed-
pay for them.
Please bring it up.
You
what,
pay,
what the snake?
you pay for the. Bring us.
Buys one,
Yeah.
comes out with 5 more.
Yes.
Well, when I got my snake,
Oh,
I
that's
was like-
another thing he's got in his room is a snake.
Yeah.
yeah, I got like a
There's
almost
turtles.
five-
Pet
yeah.
snake?
It's on me.
Yeah.
I didn't
Okay,
say
not like
no.
for cleaning toilets,
No, I
right?
got
No.
like
Oh, okay.
someone's a 5-foot ball.
I didn't say no to the turtle, and then
Yep.
things like that.
This is all
evolved.
Joel's fault.
Yeah, yeah. This is me enabling.
That's
We're just
that's manipulation, my friend.
But yeah, so I mean, spending money's a big one.
Yeah.
That was a huge one for me. Is like, and that's why I'm so passionate about like when I take meetings to the Sally. Like I kind of have like these 3 or 4 topics I try to stick to because it's something I can relate to very easily, and it's the financial aspect of it. Because it's so important to understand, like when you're coming into recovery after living a life on the streets or being homeless or whatever, and you start getting that stability of a job and a check comes in. At no point in time in my previous life had I got a check on Friday and managed it correctly without the assistance of someone saying, give me your money, I'm going to hold it for you, right? And in order for me to grow, I had to start managing those things, spend responsibly, tell myself no, and that's difficult sometimes because we have this celebratory, tick.
It
Like-
feels good to buy
Yeah.
stuff. It releases dope. You know what I mean? It makes you feel good.
Yeah, and
But then you feel bad afterwards because you're like, shit, I just spent all my money, and now I have to wait 6 more days until I can buy food.
Right.
Or,
I bet
Right.
you Joel can relate to this, but like I feel
no,
like
Joel's rich.
I feel really good saving money. Like when I look at my account and I see the money that I got in my savings, I'm like hell yeah. It's almost
Joe cannot relate to that.
well right now, but
He has a spending issue.
Yeah, yeah.
He's hemorrhaging money. No.
I hate spending. I really do hate spending money because I'm like, damn, that's just like $20 that I really didn't do I really need to spend that $20?
Yeah,
Have
and
you gotten better with it though? Were you really bad when you got out the
So
saddle and started working?
I wasn't able to save anything until I did that budget with you, that budget sheet. That saved my ass, and now I save like all my small bills, like ones, fives, and tens. I stack them all up. Anytime I break a bill,
Did we buy you tools?
yeah. Project Exodus helped me out, and they got me when I got my first AC job back in recovery. I didn't have the right tools for that job, so they gave me some money to get the tools that I needed.
Yep.
to-
And so I wanted to say this, like that budget. Um, what I realized now, like as I get further and further away from like my idea of what teaching how to make a budget, I don't think I really care to teach people how to make a budget every week or every month. I just want them to understand the principle of like what budgeting is,
Planning.
like really planning and allocating money. Because once you get an understanding of what like actually you have to pay, like I usually call it like the four walls, like food, shelter, clothing, transportation, whatever that might be. Like once you understand like how much of your budget is made up of those four things, then the petty stuff, the little things, the eating out or the Uber Eats or the whatever, if I do those things, I can't afford my four basic essentials. It's a reminder, but it's also one of those things that's like jumpstart. Like, oh, I've never seen this much money in my bank account before. I can do this. Like it really propels you to understand like, oh man, a couple of weeks of my paycheck actually puts me enough ahead that if something bad does happen, I can take care of myself for another week, whatever.
When I got out of jail and I had to move into the halfway house, I was making $18 an hour. I paid my rent. I went grocery shopping, and I basically saved all the rest. I think I was smoking cigarettes or something too back then, but like
Pathetic loser.
like 60-70% of my money I just put away and paid my fine, all these things. And like 9 months later, when my license suspension was up, I had enough money to buy a car cash. But that was because I was frugal. I didn't spend money. I needed rides to get to meetings. So I called people for rides.
Yeah, I'll say this because one of the things that so for anyone that's watching this knows that me, Joel, and Andrew just took over New Life Homes, which is now Project Exodus Homes, and I'll be very, very frank. Like for me, like one of my biggest character defects is I will be 110% into something I'm interested in. But once I get it to a point where I feel like I've reached a high score, right? Like I've outdone myself, then I get bored with it quick. And I'm not at that point with Project Exodus Homes. So I'm at that intense thing where I've got this challenge of where where I can be helpful in making this program better in whatever sense, whether it's helping getting somebody to cut the grass at East Mark after 2 months of begging, or like helping a guy make a solid decision over where he should go to work. Right? Like we got that guy in your house that's living, way too far away from Siesta Key to be taking a bus and then a bike to work at this one particular restaurant. And
What do you mean way too far? I don't understand that when guys come in and say like, "How far's a bus stop?" or
Well, I mean, there's plenty of other places to work at around.
yeah. So like when you
25 miles a day.
I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, but not everybody's Joel. What I'm trying to portray is that he has he's
6 mile ride.
to make the same amount of money. It's gonna cost him more. He's gonna make less money than he could just getting a job at Subway.
Yeah, a lot of that's ego. I see that all the time in a lot of houses.
Yeah.
Some
It's
guy
season now
passes
too,
up.
though. So I mean, every restaurant's probably hiring.
Some guy passes up the $16 an hour full time with overtime rate in order to get the 21. But the 21, he's only working 15 hours and he's hanging on, and he goes through that stage.
Or he's spending $400 a month in Uber to go to this one job that is seasonal, like Andrew said. Like, and not to mention, like, there's other restaurants that you could take a direct bus to or ride a bike a much shorter distance. And
well, how old is he? I mean,
22.
22.
Yeah, again, I don't know.
But
what we're
I'm saying like there's work and I get it. It's
if he's not going to ride, if he's not going to make the ride on a bicycle, then he's not showing up and he's not out working the people there. And he's
look,
not doing
this might
he's
we
not
could be
even-
completely wrong about this particular person. But my point is, it's like I feel like people, like you said, are too proud to go work at Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
Like or climb a ladder and get on a roof.
It's like get a job. You don't have to get the job right
Yeah.
now.
I remember working at Buffalo Wild Wings, and I was like right into recovery, like living in Eastport.
Yeah.
And
They taught you
I-
what you didn't want to do in life.
yeah, I hated every minute of it because I knew that I did heating and air conditioning work, and this is not where I wanted to be, but this is where I was, and I just had to do it to get over that next hurdle, you know.
when I moved into Hidden Forest with Joel, I remember like using his computer to like apply to something on Indeed, and I had a pretty decent resume. Like there's jobs out there where I could have just came out and money would not have been an issue, but I had a felony. And so every time I would even get a phone call, it was like, no, I'm sorry. And all that time, I mean, it didn't take me really long. Just like, I'll just take anything. And someone offered me a job cutting grass. And I think one of the things I realized from taking that job was how happy it made me. Something so simple. Someone picked me up from work. It was like they paid me like $100 a day or something. But I think the persistence and the attitude that recovery gave me of being appreciative and humble and grateful and having gratitude led me to the next position. And
You're just happy to be out of Polk County Jail, man,
Yeah.
out there with a running edger all day.
but if I would have maintained that attitude of like, oh no, man, I don't work jobs like this. Like I should be making X amount of dollars doing something else. Like if I would have had that, I would have never made it. You know what I mean? Like I would have been back out in the streets because my mindset had not changed. If it would not have changed. It would have still been this arrogant, too good, know everything, and so when we talk about enabling people, I hope that's something we're not robbing people of by helping. I don't think we are, but
I think we always are. I mean, I think there's no other way to do it.
Yeah.
But we're also planting the seed. It's like if they experience, imagine going into a place and we do enable them, but they see the benefits of recovery. We enable them certain ways, maybe financially or opportunity wise, and they do get a footing in there and they do start doing pretty well, and they relapse and they lose all that. They know exactly where to come, where they could have been. I mean, I remember I finally got I remember when I first got in recovery in the houses, I was making $14 an hour. I had to bike miles every day, whatever. And finally hit that dream job, you know what I mean? And had like a office glassed in overlooking this whole sales floor and stuff, just sat there. I didn't even have work to do. I just sat there and made money.
Yeah.
And lost that after
The boiler room.
like 2 months or whatever, relapsed. And, that's what told me exactly where to go. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like, I was a fast mover. You know what I mean? I probably didn't deserve that position that I got, you know what I mean? But I knew exactly where to go in order to get back to that spot. So the enabling may set people back. It may help. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell.
You got to take the good with the bad.
I think there's a difference between enabling and helping. I feel like sometimes people are in a position where, they need help, whether it be financially or whatever. And if I'm able to offer that help, I don't see that necessarily as enabling. It's just if you're doing it over and over and over and over for the same person, it's like they're not trying.
Yeah, and
I can see how enabling's bad. It was bad for me and my addiction, but I had a lot of people help me along the way, and now I'm in a position to where I can also give that back too. But
So you think it's in the repetition of the help?
it's like if I call you and I'm like, "Hey, man, I'm
like where
50
you don't
bucks."
see change. Like,
Right?
here's your third cell phone, and here's your
Yeah.
free rent, and here's your
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like then I think then it becomes enabling. But I think the initial is like here, we can help
Every-
you with this.
everyone gets a shot.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I don't
even
think
maybe two or I don't know or two.
we're
but
we're
it's-
definitely not the first people on the block to
I don't even necessarily
something
mean with
like
Project
this.
Exodus Corp either. It could be
Right.
with anything.
And,
Right.
And are we taking? Because I remember what shotgun my recovery was those dark days where I had no money. No one came to give me a cell phone. No one paid my rent. No one, it was those moments where I was like, I'm never coming back here. Like
It's going to be,
I'm
you know,
gonna,
what's,
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what I will say is like for the vast majority of people that have been involved with this, there's a lot of guys that and girls too that are still in programs or they've graduated programs and they're doing really well. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see the data points
yeah,
get to a point where we can honestly see how that looks from a house standpoint because I don't again it's a vision, it's a hypothetical, but imagine you've got a house full of 8, 9, 10 guys, right? And out of that 8, 9, 10 guys, 75% of those people received a cell phone when they came in. And so you got this new person that comes in, they get that same courtesy of whatever benefit it was. They can do two things. They can see how grateful the other people that receive that are and how they've used it to benefit their lives. But two, the elder statesman, if you will, in the program can then turn around and say, hey, we took this and we used that as we took it for, we didn't take it for granted. We use it to our advantage. And now we're also helping people. Cause I imagine, I'm going to speak for Anthony here. If someone ever is trying to get tools to get their job, he can always look back and say, someone helped me,
Right.
and you say this a lot, planting that seed. And, if we help 100 people and 20 of them make it, it's worth it. If we,
yeah, I'd roll with those stats for sure. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
Like today, like with giving him a ride to that interview.
yeah.
I knew not that it was a waste of time, but I knew that it was really far and all that stuff. And I had honestly just got on off of work, and he hit me with that. But I knew like this is what he had his heart set on, and I wanted to help him get to that next level and get back to working and stuff like that. So I'm like, let's go do it. Let's go run it right now.
Yeah, and if you hear this, brother, my friend Mike, if you hear this, we're not beating you up, man. Like we I don't want to ever discourage someone, but I do want to be a good friend and say, hey, don't turn down anything. It's kind of like a little brother. You just want them to do what's best for them in that moment. Sometimes you can't see it, but this may be the same situation like Joel's saying. Like he can look back and say, I worked hard. I rode a bus and I rode a bike and then I came home and
22 years old, go get that
Dude, yeah,
$14 an hour
get it.
job,
get it.
outwork everybody there.
Yeah, I
Look
had
for
a
that
really good
shot.
conversation with him the other day and learned a lot more about him. And we talked about like changing his circle, and he was, surrounding himself with people that want the same thing and are going in the same direction. And I have a lot of hope for that guy. He's a
Me too.
good kid, man. He's got his heart in the right place. He just needs a chance, and he's got one. And I look forward to seeing him grow. So we got a few minutes. I mean, it's 7:02. I think we got a little bit of a late start, but and is there anything that you want to say or want to add to this? Maybe a funny story or give a shout out to anybody? What you got?
I just want to give a shout out to you guys. I mean, like honestly, like you guys are a big impact on my recovery story. Like this is where I feel like this is my spot where I have my chance to feel like I'm helping out the recovery community, like being a part of all this and being a house lead. It's challenging, but it's really cool to see people come into the house and get their life back. Try to think.
Big shout out to Angela.
Oh yeah, baby girl.
Hey, weren't you there the night that Marshall and JT had that incident?
Oh, that's a funny one.
Yeah, let's hear
He
about
told
it.
it
Let's hear
before.
it from your point of view.
Straight from he was there.
Yeah. All right. So I just fell asleep. I'm actually in a dead sleep, and I wake up to JT screaming.
What's he saying?
He's like, "What the fuck?" Like blah 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 blah. I'm like, "What the heck?" So I thought he was getting into a fight. So like I come out the room. I'm in my boxers, and
Class.
You got a steel reserve in your hand?
oh yeah. Sorry, Joel. And the dude, what was his name? Marshall.
Yeah. Where's he at nowadays? Is he all right?
Free hashtag free Marshall.
Free Marshall. He had JT's like, he just pissed on me, and I'm like, no. And you see this puddle of piss
Oh, so
right by the
pissed for a while.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, he let loose.
He's like, Marshall's like, I thought it was the bathroom.
Yeah, yeah.
He literally walked into his room while JT's sleeping and just whipped it out and just started peeing all over his feet.
Oh
And
wow.
I've done that before. So
it took so much.
On a
like,
person?
yeah, I was dating this girl, and I must have got up in the middle of the night, and I thought I walked into her bathroom. And I just went to the corner of the room, and she stopped me after,
Dang, those Four Locos are intense.
Yeah, no, I did. I walked into a closet and peed into a hamper thinking it was the toilet, but not on a person.
yeah.
Well,
Well,
good.
yeah. So it was on JT.
Oh
or
yeah, it was
just-
on his feet. Oh yeah, and there's a puddle of piss, and then he cleaned it up with a towel. And this was my roommate too,
Yeah.
so he cleaned it up with a towel, came back into my room, and just dropped the towel in on the floor. And I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Put that outside. And he's like, oh, I don't know what to do with it.
Recovery Home Stories
Yeah.
brought to you by Project
I wonder,
X.
JT, did you ever get that new mattress, or does he still owe you? You get charged to the game, or?
I don't know. We'll have to ask JT. We'll have to get him on here. All right. So, couple of things I wanted to say before we close out tonight. As I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, if you get a chance, if you want one of these shirts that we have, let me switch the screen over.
Got a little update.
If you're looking to like invest in some of the merch that we have this website, projectexoduscorp.com. I'll increase it or make this larger. But you can go up here to the top right-hand corner where there's the shopping bag, and you can scroll through and you can see all the products we have here. We have hats, hoodies, T-shirts, board shorts, joggers, JT's joggers, straight out of the Sally shirt. I mean, we have a large selection, and there's always new stuff coming. We use the money, as you can see, they're like $20, $19. We use the money that we raise with these shirts. The profits go to helping someone in early recovery, like like Joel, like Andrew, myself. When we first come in, we usually will either help pay for their rent when they first come into a halfway house, buy them a cell phone, get them some work boots, tools, like whatever they need to kind of stimulate their journey and give them a chance. It's really hard to get a job when you go to an interview and you don't have a phone for them to call if they are interested in hiring you. So that's kind of the things that we were inspired to help with. We also just want to give back in a way that people gave to us. So that is one of the things I wanted to bring up before we close out tonight. What was the update?
Oh, the mattress is still there, and
Is Ant sleeping on it?
yeah, he flipped it around so the feet part's by his head now.
Gross.
So,
Yeah,
Memories.
these are the obstacles that we have to overcome in this daggum house. So yeah, I mean it's gonna be interesting. Anthony, I want to say thank you so much for coming on tonight, man. I really do appreciate you. We're so happy and proud of you. I mean, I genuinely say that from a place of love, from deep in my heart, and it's been such a pleasure to watch you come out and go from working at Buffalo Wild Wings to getting a good job in a good career field. I mean, you've come over here and helped me with my air conditioner. You helped that house with
he helped
their
me too.
yeah, and
Phone.
Yeah, we
yeah,
got
I've enjoyed watching you and your relationship with Angela develop, and you two have just been such a huge help to us. Anything that Project Exodus has went on, I mean, you do the audio booth every week. I just wanted to make sure I took the time to let you know, like we're all extremely proud of you, and whatever that next step in your life is, like you got our support 110% as long as you're staying sober. Because if you're not, we're gonna come kick you in the mouth. But yeah, so I just wanted to make sure that we, at least if we were going to close out with telling you, like, we're so thankful for you, and under no circumstances does this work without people like you, the sacrifices you make, the example you set, and you show so many people that if they buy into the idea of what Project Exodus is and recovery is, that they can have a much better life than what they once had. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, bro.
Love you guys.
Yeah, man.
love you, dog.
All right, you two knuckleheads got anything left?
Nope.
No, you tired?
Yeah.
What about you? No.
Summed it up, man.
Yeah, we got some work to do, ironically, when we leave here. All right, guys. So thank you. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Project Exodus Corp podcast. My name is Paul.
Joel, love you guys.
Doo-doo, baby.
Anthony.
All right. Love you guys. Y'all have a good night. See ya. Peace.
Oh yeah.
You don't come to Las Vegas and talk to a man like Mo Green like that!
Fredo, I love you. But don't ever take sides with anyone against the family again.